everyone, welcome to a new video series called Asked and Answered, where I tackle your frequently asked questions about various astronomical and space-related topics. So our first topic is asteroids, for no reason except I felt like doing that. So, let's get started! Are asteroids real? Yes. So they are small rocky bodies in the solar system, and we actually know of over 1.1 million of them, so yes, very real. Are asteroids and meteors the same? Not exactly. So meteors are the so-called shooting stars that we see when an object burns up upon entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Now, when meteors are not in the Earth's atmosphere, they come from meteoroids. Now, these meteoroids are generally smaller than asteroids, but they are probably produced from asteroids in collision, so they're probably little chips of asteroids that came off when asteroids collided with one another. Where is the asteroid belt located? So the asteroid belt is where the majority of the asteroids are located, and it is in fact in between Mars and Jupiter, ranging from about 2.1 to about 3.3 AU, or the distance from the Sun to the Earth. Now this location isn't a coincidence, because astronomers think that the strong gravitational effects of Jupiter actually prevented bodies from forming a planet at this location, leaving behind lots of little bodies. Who discovered the asteroid belt? So there's not actually any one person. So the existence of something in between Mars and Jupiter was postulated by scientists as far back as Johannes Kepler in 1596, basically because there was a much larger gap between Mars and Jupiter than any of the other planets. Now, the first person to actually detect one of the objects in between Mars and Jupiter in the asteroid belt was Giuseppe Piazzi, who discovered Ceres in 1801. At the time, they considered Ceres a planet, although now we classify it as a dwarf planet. Several more of the largest asteroids were discovered in the very early 19th century, including Pallas, Vesta, and Juno, and then some of the smaller bodies not until the mid-19th century. William Herschel was the one who first proposed the name asteroid for these bodies because they looked more like stars than like the planets did, because they're so small. But although he suggested the name asteroid in 1802, it didn't really start to catch on until the 1850s or so, which is also when we start seeing the first mentions of the asteroid belt, although again, there's not any one person that can really be credited to. Are asteroids planets? Nope. Asteroids are too small to be planets. So in order for something to be considered a planet, it must become roughly spherical under the weight of its own self-gravity, which means it has to be large enough to do that. And this is bigger than something that we kind of colloquially call the potato radius. And this is because if you've ever seen a picture of some asteroids, they kind of look very lumpy and potato-like and not like a sphere like, say, the Earth or the Moon. The only asteroid that was large enough to achieve this shape was Ceres, and it was actually reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006 for this reason. How are asteroids formed? So asteroids actually formed in the early solar system, but at the time we didn't really call them asteroids, we called them planetesimals. So the exact mechanism of how planetesimals form is actually a very active area of research. There's actually some real big challenges, no pun intended, in getting dust basically to coalesce all the way up into something the size of an asteroid. But that's the basic idea. So you start with grains of dust, they start to clump together, those clumps start to clump together, eventually you get bigger and bigger structures. Now, in the early solar system, there were a lot of bodies of this size. Now, a lot of them went on to form larger structures, which we call embryos and protoplanets and eventually planets. But some of them didn't. Some of them stayed as planetesimals. They're still around today, and now we call them asteroids. Can an asteroid destroy Earth? No, the Earth is very robust. It is not going to be destroyed by an asteroid. Life, on the other hand, For example, an asteroid called Chicxulub struck the Earth about 66 million years ago, and it's believed that it caused the extinction of about 75% of all plant and animal species at the time, including, yes, dinosaurs. But the effect of an asteroid impact is going to depend a lot on the size and density of the asteroid, as well as its speed and angle when it hits the Earth. Very small asteroids and meteoroids, they just burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Things that actually strike the ground are a lot less common. So on average, an asteroid with a diameter of 1 kilometer would strike the Earth about every 500,000 years. And for larger asteroids with 5 kilometer in diameter, that becomes once in every 20 million years. And for example, that Chicxulub asteroid, that was 10 kilometers in diameter. So a very large asteroid to cause such catastrophic effects. Now, asteroids that might end up impacting Earth are tracked by NASA and other governments, and right now, the most likely candidate is an asteroid called Bennu, which is about 500 meters in diameter, and it only has a 1 in 1,750 chance of hitting the Earth in the next 300 years, so this is a very, very low probability event. Are asteroids magnetic? This is actually a tough one because I think there's two ways of viewing this question. So the way that I would take it is, do asteroids have a magnetic field? And the answer is no. So some of the larger asteroids may have had magnetic fields early on in their life for the same reason that the Earth does. They would have had a molten core that could kind of sustain a magnetic field. But asteroids are very small, and so they cool very quickly, and so none of them would have a magnetic field that would last into present day. However, if you mean, is it magnetic in the sense of like, if you had an asteroid, could you hang a fridge magnet on it? Then yes, asteroids are actually contain a lot of iron and other metals that would be considered magnetic in that sense. Are asteroids radioactive? No, they are not. So while asteroids may have formed back in the day, like the early solar system, with radioactive elements in them, like aluminum-26 and iron-60, they are also very, very old, and the half-lives of these elements means that they have decayed away. So asteroids do contain trace amounts of radioactive elements, but no more than Earth does. So an asteroid is no more radioactive than a typical boulder you might find here on Earth. All right, so those were the frequently asked questions about asteroids. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to tackle and asked and answered, please let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.